Hi, I'm Noah. You may have seen me from my last interview with... Okay, just kidding.
You were living in New York when you put out Born to Die, and I know that you went from being like normal New Yorker that rides the subway to Lana Del Rey that's on page 6 and
That was fucked up.
yes, subject of long think pieces in the Times.
Yes.
And
it just changed it. Like I remember I was working somewhere else and I was on my way back from there, and I was getting on the 6 train or something, and TMZ was behind me the whole time.
Like on the train.
Yeah, I mean, I had run into this cameraman. It was the first time I had seen a paparazzi. But it wasn't, he wasn't taking pictures, he was just filming.
Just following you
so
through the subway.
I don't even know if I had ever seen that before, because it's someone just like a VHS following you around.
Was he trying to talk to you?
Yeah, and I was answering, and I was, I sounded crazy. And then I went down to the thing, and I got my ticket, swiped it, waited for the train. I looked behind me, the guy had gotten a ticket too, and he was waiting too, and I was like, wait, is this real life? So this, and honestly, from then on, I mean, like one of those guys I had seen that day was just always there. So I kind of thought to myself, I think I gotta move somewhere.
Okay, your first 3 covers are all fairly like serious and sort of oscillating between like kind of almost sad and maybe a little bit aloof on the honeymoon one.
Yeah.
This is the first one where you're smiling.
Well, the honeymoon one I thought was more just casual.
Okay.
I felt like I was in a more casual space. But then this one, it was definitely like in a even lighter space altogether. So, I mean, my sister shot it, Chuck, and we shot it in the parking lot behind the scenes of like my love video. So, I mean, we didn't know if we were going to get the cover, but we definitely knew like I was gonna smile. So we just like took a couple frames, and she developed it that week, and I just felt like that was the one.
For being a fairly dark time to live in the world, it's kind of interesting that this is actually your most optimistic work, at least in its titling and its imagery.
Yeah.
What's the sort of genesis of that?
Well, there was like a little bit of a shift in me, naturally. I felt like I had kind of said a lot and done a lot through the records, and I was kind of ready to like have some of my friends jump on the record, which like they were all naturally a little bit lighter than me, so that was kind of happening in my world. And then I think maybe intuitively I felt a little bit like, I just felt like 2 years of recording really dark tunes would not be fun.
Not be fun for you, or for the listener, perhaps.
Yeah.
You do touch on problems of the world and politics in this work in a way that your previous albums did not. Was that a conscious decision?
I feel like on the last records, I just really needed to look inward to figure out why things had gone so far down one path. And then I kind of came to the end of my self-examination, and like I just naturally sort of was looking at everything else. But of course, like all my experiences and, like romantic relationships and stuff are still peppered into some of the songs on this record. But also, I mean, obviously with Obama as the president, I mean, me and everybody I know, I think we just felt really safe and protected, and felt like we were being viewed the way we wanted to be viewed, like in terms of the world, how they saw America. So there wasn't as much to say except like, look how far we've come, and it's getting better, getting even better. So I feel like there was quite a shift.
With this record, you have infused, more politics than ever before. It's not necessarily a political record, but it is record of the day.
Yeah.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine that you have a decent number of sort of middle American fans for whom Trump's inauguration and administration is not problematic.
Right.
How do you negotiate expressing your own honest feelings about these things, and do you think about whether or not it's going to piss them off, or is this something that has inspired ire from people who at one point were in your core?
I think, you just don't negotiate when it comes to your work. You just or your art. You just stand totally firm and take the consequences. In terms of losing fans, I don't care. Period.
Those two albums, Honeymoon and Ultraviolence, it seemed like you concentrated on making stuff for yourself and perhaps for your core audience.
Yeah.
And, you know, with this record, it at least appears that there is like a sort of more expansive ambition. Is that fair to characterize it?
I would characterize it as like a not turning away from the possible biggerness of it compared to the other two. Before, I felt maybe I wanted to, you know, slightly be more protective of my own space and stuff with the last two records.
Was that a reaction to the success of records like the Summertime Sadness remix?
I think it was a reaction just to like more people knowing who I was right away. So I was like, let me just check myself and let me just get myself into a place where I really like, where I'm sure I like what I'm doing and I know I love the production. But with the Summertime Sadness remix, I had told you before, I didn't hear that song until it was on the radio. And I came back from a show in Russia and I heard it on the radio. And I mean, in general, I like to have my hands all over the production.
Is that a weird feeling to like...
It was weird. It was weird.
Is it weird also that it's...
That it's a huge song?
Your biggest
Really?
hit? I mean...
You're going to say that?
Is it... I mean, radio numbers, at least. Maybe
no,
not your most
right.
important song, but...
I think Video Games is like right up there. But I mean, I was more sensitive about it then because when you're new, you've got so much to prove. You don't have that many chances. You know, that's like real. I mean, I considered at the time like just being careful. You know, like in terms of collabs or sponsorships or whatever.
Is it freeing now to feel that you can do sort of whatever feels good in that moment?
Yeah, it is actually.
Do you think that played into the larger ambition of the Lust for Life record?
So like Rocky's on the record, and so when he's in town and I'm here, you know, I'm just down at the studio anyways. Or the same with Abel, you know, like I'll just go down and listen to what he's working on. So I kind of realized like, why do I not have my friends on my record?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was more like, I mean, it was pretty natural, but I guess with Abel, everything he does now is so big. So at another time, maybe that would have felt like a little bit scary or something. But now it just feels right. You know?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you know, he's super out there and he's, you know, got like a lot of radio stuff. So I don't know if I would have known what to do with a big radio song. But I'm not saying I have one on this record.
But if you are to have one, you feel confident that...
Then I'd be happy.
It would be exciting and...
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
David Byrne from the Talking Heads wrote an amazing book about sort of the history of music.
Yeah.
And, you know, he sort of goes into the significance of radio, into how songs are formatted, and just sort of the idea that it's like 3 minutes with 3 hooks and a bridge is not... There's nothing in nature that says that that's how music should be composed. Yeah. It's strictly about the fact that radio programmers want to get 3 songs in per commercial break, and so then
for sure
that has sort of like trained the artists to work within those confines.
Yeah, and they're not terrible confines to work within. It's like it's kind of fun to make a short song with a cute chorus, but I mean, I think if you're writing it yourself, it's important to have half the record at least, where you got, you know, a little bit of your life in there, and or a little bit of an opinion. Or I mean, sometimes you can. I think if you're really good, you can do both.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all the greats are.
Yeah, I was thinking of Bob Dylan.
What is sort of the measure of success for you?
I mean, the one thing that stayed the same is, like, that for me, the measure of success with the record is just that it gets finished. For real.
Did Sean Lennon make the record?
He made it.
I saw that you took these photos with a horse, but it was not a horse coming out of a pond on his estate. So
It's not.
I didn't know if that was like a subliminal shot at
It's
him.
no, no. Horses have just been a random theme somehow. I mean, he ended up producing the track we did together called Tomorrow Never Came, and that's the only track on the record that I wrote over the last 2 years, and I didn't feel like it was mine. Like I just felt like I had written it for somebody else, which I never really felt like that. So, and then I was looking at the lyrics, and I had a lyric about John Lennon and Yoko, and so I called Sean and asked him if he would like do a duet with me, and he said that he was his dad's biggest fan, so it would be really natural.
The other thing I've noticed is almost all the people that you work with are men. Is that ever something that you think about or bothers you, or?
Well, it's weird because like the people in my like close production life are men. I guess I'm thinking of like Rick and my two engineers, Dean Reed and Kieran Menzies, who have changed my whole musical life and my sound and my records. But then like in my personal life, there's just so many women. Well, there's not many female producers for sure. There's some great female songwriters though. That'll probably change.
When you think about yourself as a songwriter, how do you think you have changed from the Born to Die days to what you're writing now?
Maybe just the ability to like integrate my own experiences with what I'm observing, to be able to reflect back like a good mix of
The world and yourself?
Yeah, inner world, outer world.
Toxic relationships were very much the fuel of a lot of the writing on those first albums.
Yeah.
As you have moved to a sort of, I don't know, happier, more solid place, perhaps making better life decisions. Trying. How do you think about your romantic life, and how do you think about it within the context of your songwriting?
I feel like in this record, there's, like with the songs that are love songs or about relationships, it's more, I feel like I come off almost more annoyed, like about the way things are going rather than like, oh, poor me, or, there's like a moving on that I get from my own stuff, because sometimes my own stuff is a little bit revealing to me, about myself.
With a lot of artists who write very personal stuff, when they get to this point in their career, it sometimes gets more difficult to unearth and reveal those things.
That's true.
Because of success and fame and, the work. Do you feel like it's a greater challenge now to...
Yeah. But like I've never been somebody who like turned away from really hard work. So like I'm always willing to put the footwork in. Like with the mixing, if it takes 8 months, I will mix for 8 months. If the master doesn't come back right, like I'll find someone else to do it. And with the personal stuff, I mean, if I feel like I'm just not getting it right, like I'll just keep on trying different things until I feel like I'm hitting my stride in that department. But I mean, it's not, I don't know. Finding your own path is not for the faint of heart. It's the harder path. It's easier to just like keep doing the same shit over and over again, and then be surprised when like it's still the same, like the same results. Somehow that's easier than just doing something different.
A lot of what got written about you in the beginning, and in a very, in somewhat real way, like you had developed a character, I imagine a large part you, and then perhaps something that's imagined. As you've gotten further and further into your career, do you feel like the lines between those two things have changed or blurred, or
there's so, it's like that's what most of the think pieces are about. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I could have not said in the songs, and I said it anyways. It didn't always serve me to talk about some of the men I was with and what that was like, and then not comment on it further. So that's some of my experiences and where I lived and what it was like. It would have been easier to just not say that and then deflect all of the
So do you think
questions about it afterwards.
that was sort of overstated?
I didn't edit myself when I could have. Because a lot of it's just the way it was. I mean, because I've changed a lot, Like a lot of those songs, like, it's not that I don't relate, but no, a lot of it too was I was just kind of nervous. Like I came off sort of nervously. And there's just a lot of dualities, a lot of juxtapositions going on that maybe just didn't, like something felt a little off. And, maybe the thing that was off was I just needed like a little more time or something. And also my path was just so windy just to get to like having a first record. And I feel like I had to figure it out all by myself, Every move was just like guesswork.
Well,
so
it's kind of funny because, you were in your mid-20s when you sort of came out. And I do think, like, if you look at artists that drop their first album between, say, like 25 and 27, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's an Eminem or a Jay-Z, it's like...
Yeah, exactly.
If you looked at their work at 22...
It's different.
Would have been very raw and sort of unfocused.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, there was no Slim Shady persona
Right, for sure.
for Eminem at 22.
Yeah.
But by 26, he had, like, a full...
Yeah.
The 360 package, and I feel like...
And Jay-Z talks about that, too, like how he really, really lived by the time he was 26. There was a real perspective he was coming from. So, yeah, it's a real age where...
Well, you can put together a project that is more fully, like...
Right, and my perspective was fully formed. It just wasn't a great outlook, I feel. It's not so much a matter of, like, a persona question with me. It's just more like what was going on, with that girl. Like, where was she coming from?
There's been an inordinate amount of conversation around the idea of cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And Katy Perry, kind of stepped right in it with her performance on SNL. You have sort of moved fairly organically from sort of the singer-songwriter world into hip-hop and back out and back in without much commotion.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, I never feel like I'm, like, not where I'm supposed to be, Because I think no matter who I'm with, I'm always still doing my own thing. Like, I can't remember the last time I was, like, in a club or somewhere and felt like, man, I'm not supposed to be here. And same with, or, like, being in a theater or, like, we saw Pink Floyd the other day. So, I mean, I've kind of been doing it for so long. I feel like everybody I'm friends with, everyone I know just knows I'm just all about the music.
Do you have any consideration for the critics and all of the sort of like dissection of your art at this point?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, now I guess I have a song called "Get Free," which closes my record, and it started by told my whole story, I guess, and my thoughts on where I want to go next. And then I realized I actually don't want to tell my whole story. I don't want to talk about it.
How do you negotiate what you keep for yourself and what you are ready to share?
I mean, sometimes I just can't resist to just like tell it like it really is for myself and the way that I feel.
Complex Networks.